This right here is why you keep fights personal. Welcome to another video, ladies and gentlemen. Now, in this one, I'm going to be talking about Robbie and Quan specifically, the rivalry, the fight. Now, obviously, in traditional Cobra Kai Karate Kid fashion, would it have been nice to have seen this fight a lot longer in like the classic Karate Kid kind of vein, where there's more rounds, it's a bit longer, a bit more emotional value. Yeah, it would have been nice, but because Cobra Kai is an ensemble show, you've got so many characters to try and pay off, so many arcs to try and satisfy. I feel like they knocked it out of the park with this one, just like Robbie knocked the shit out of Quan's face. Um, and I remember when I was talking about this and when we were first introduced to Quan, and was like, I need to see Miguel versus Quan. No, you don't. You don't need to see Miguel versus Quan. You want to see Miguel versus Quan. There's a difference there. Miguel versus Quan was cool. We got to see a little bit of interaction between them. We got to see a couple of back and forths with them. But the personal gravity was between Robbie and Quan, the same way the personal gravity will be between Miguel and Axel. When you make a fight personal, it raises the stakes for everyone involved, not just the characters that the fight is happening between, but anyone that is watching, anyone that is interacting, anyone that's watching from afar, what it means going forward. The example I often use is, Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man, his main villain is Willem Dafoe's Green Goblin, but in No Way Home, it makes no sense for Tobey to fight him versus Tom Holland, because Tom Holland's one has a personal stake against him, and it leads and culminates in one of the best movies we've seen, in best scenes in any Spider-Man movie we've ever seen, where he starts unloading on Goblin one after the other as Andrew and Tobey are looking on. It's a great moment. It's stuff like that. Keeping the gravity there is so important, and it was so fundamental after part two just consistently broke Robbie down episode by episode by episode as Quan was getting into his head without fail every single time to come out the blocks and kick this dude in the face. And honestly, the fact that he toys with Quan and there's several moments he could win the match, but he doesn't, it tells you all you need. Look, I get it, and I've talked about a lot about Quan in my other video. Quan is a G, let's not get it twisted, but Miguel and Robbie, we have grown with them since the start of the show. I feel like there's a lot of recency bias when a new character is introduced and he beats a bunch of Cobra Kai NPCs when Miguel and Robbie have been putting in smoke for 6 seasons. Like, let's not forget the characters we've been growing with. And that we're supposed to be rooting for Miguel and Robbie. We're not supposed to be rooting for Quan. That's not how it works. You can think he's cool, but the way stories are designed, Robbie and Miguel are the protagonists. Quan's an antagonist. And I love that we have an out-and-out villain in the Cobra Kai series now. We don't have a grey, conflicted character. We just have someone who's, and I said it before, a fucking arsehole. And it was so satisfying to watch Robbie humble this guy. Like, he toys with him the entire fight. The minute he locks in, and it's a deadlock, 2-2, Robbie could have ended the match at least 4 times, but he wanted to make him suffer. And there's a great moment, which I think everyone loved. Devon says, "What's Robbie doing?" And Johnny's like, "He's making it hurt." It's like he's proud of his son. He's like, that's my boy. And, it culminates in Robbie getting the dub and taking Quan's head off. And I know we have our concerns and our grievances for part 3 and how it's all going to be handled and whatnot. But I'm just, if we went into part 3 with Robbie not having this, then I'd have a massive issue. But luckily, we do have something that gives Robbie the shine and the appreciation that he deserves. And that's all I've ever wanted for Robbie. That's it. And I've said this before, and so have many others. Axel is a 2-man job. Yes, Miguel and Axel is a personal fight, but Miguel alone is not taking on Axel. Robbie's not taking on Axel. No one is. Axel is in a different category of his own. Quan, who knocked out Diego Aguilar in literally 3 hits, right? Couldn't even get a single touch on Axel. Couldn't touch him. That was Quan. So Robbie and Miguel are going to have to put in work across 2 separate matches to wear Axel down. And then ultimately, when Miguel fights Axel, it's going to be probably the most emotional fight of the show. It's going to have the most gravity. It's going to be the Rocky IV, Creed 2 type of fight, where the emotional gravity is there. Whereas with the Robbie and Quan fight, that's where the epic is. That's where the Anakin Obi-Wan is. That's the score. Mortal Kombat and Zack and Leo, you freaking killed that score. Straight in my workout playlist. I really love this scene. I love this fight scene. I think it's the hypest moment of part 2. And I think everything that leads into this with Miguel, giving Robbie the tough love, G'ing him up, psyching him up, Kenny coming in clutch and saving everyone's asses. And then Robbie leading the line and, having the whole locker room scene. It was beautiful. It was absolutely beautiful. And I'm just glad that they kept it personal between Robbie and Quan. You can have other characters. Would it have been nice to have seen Miguel and Quan have more of a back and forth? Sure. Would it have been nice to have seen Hawk and Quan have some more back and forth? Absolutely. But I think when you make it personal between A and B, see yourself out. There's no room for a third party there. I'm sorry. I'm so glad it was left to these two. Now, the only difference with Axel is, yes, it's more personal between Miguel and Axel, but you give it the personal stakes by involving Robbie. You need to, because then you have the Rocky 4 parallel, Apollo, Rocky, Drago. It, pays that off. But this fight here, absolutely killer. What a scene. I'm trying not to fall into recency bias too much. The Robbie and Eli fight, I feel like is still my number one fight of the kids, because Jacob and Tanner absolutely freaking killed it. But Brandon Lee and Tanner absolutely knocked this out the park. And honestly, if that's like Tanner's final hurrah, like his big last final epic fight scene, then what a way to go out. I'm sure part 3, we've got him fighting Axel, and I hope there's a brawl. I'm really hoping for Miyagi-Do to get attacked. I want the dojo to be attacked, as it should have been in season 3. And I really, really, really want that to happen. And I want Robbie and Miguel to have a moment where they team up on Axel 2v1, and then it leads into the replay. Robbie then gets injured, gives Miguel even more motivation, because now you've tried making moves to his girl, you've hurt his brother. Like now you gotta go. You gotta fuck off. Like and that's when we can fully get behind Miguel, and that's when everyone will be united. And I'm looking forward to it. But this fight slapped. Comment down below what was your reaction to seeing it the first time? What did you think? What did you feel? Do you feel it lives up to the hype? Would you have liked to have seen more? And do you think this is like Robbie's big final, moment? Tanner did say part 2 was his favorite episode, so it's not like Robbie's arc is over. Robbie's arc is far from done. But I think the dessert is in part 2 for Robbie. I think part 3 is more closure and rounding off. And I think when you watch part 1 and part 2 back to back, I feel a little bit better going into part 3, because when you look at it, that Robbie beat his rival, Miguel, he beat him. Cope, I don't care what people say, he beat him. He won fair and square. He beat Kwon, literally his main enemy. Like, there's a lot there. Now, would it be nice to see Robbie lift the trophy? Absolutely. The boys lost 2 finals. But if they go the right way and they make it serviceable, and they have it to where Robbie doesn't have a hand on that trophy, but it means something. Like, it means something. Not just season 4, we're going to give it to Eli so we subvert expectations. You should have given it to Robbie in season 4. You really should have. Anyway, I'm rambling. Comment down below, guys and girls. I'll see you in another video soon, and we're onwards to 9K. And man, honestly, this fight scene right here and the soundtrack, I've literally listened to like 50 times the last 2 days. It's insane.